All right. Now we're getting into the interesting AIs. So today we're going to look at the quarterback AI, and this is where it gets kind of interesting. We've got all the basic building blocks for running a play. All the AIs are in place, and they all look pretty good. And I've kind of at least adjusted them a couple of times so that they're running pretty close to what you'd want and what you'd feel like is legit AI. Blocking, rushing, defense, and all that stuff, running routes, and all those things. So now what we're going to look at are the two things for the quarterback. We're going to look at quarterback's ability to read receivers. Just all right, is he throwing to open receivers when they're open and he actually gets to that progression? Um, Is he throwing into coverage? Is he missing open receivers? And then I just today added a pocket movement AI because if you've watched the previous videos, every pass play of the quarterback just kind of stood back there like a statue, and that's not what. Ultimately, that's not what we want, right? We want the quarterback to if the rush is coming from one side, we don't want him to just stand there like an idiot and get sacked, right? We want him to kind of move around in the pocket. So I've added that today, and we're going to take a look at that too, and just kind of see, all right, is it doing the job, or do we need to really, adjust it? I don't know. I don't know. It's hard to say with pocket awareness for quarterbacks, other than just hey, avoid the rush. Like I don't what's the right pocket movement. We kind of, when we watch football on TV and things like that, when quarterbacks have pocket movement that is unexpected, we often think that's awesome. When quarterbacks have pocket movement that is expected, we think that's awesome too. Like who knows? As long as it's effective, I think that's what we're going for. All right, so and then also keep in mind what often happens, especially with my quarterbacks, is they're almost too effective. So just to make them too effective, we're gonna give my quarterback perfect passing right now. We'll bring it down a little bit. I just when the passing rating controls a lot of things for the quarterback. It controls how fast the quarterback reads or progresses the receivers. So we'll run this right now just so you can kind of see. You'll see this dot, that little dot. It was a green dot over here. Let's see if I reset it. If you can see it, you can't. You'll see this dot pop up, and it'll be either green, white, or red. When it's red, what that is that dot is where the quarterback is reading his receiver and where he's thinking of throwing the ball. And if it's red, he's reading him as covered. If it's green, he's reading that receiver as open. And if it's white, I shouldn't be white. But if it is white, he's not making a judgment on that throw. If it turns blue, like cyan, it's all he's saying is there's a special type of overhead throw that he's looking at. I think I removed all that, so you might not see that anymore. But if you see cyan, it's reading the type of throw the quarterback thinks he has to make. All right, so go. All right, see that green dot? Red, red, red. So that's nice. That's how fast this quarterback can progress through receivers. It's almost so fast you can't follow the dot. So watch the dot again, how it flips from receiver. Right there, that receiver, that receiver, that's how fast the best quarterback can switch his reads. Now watch this. This is kind of interesting if nothing else, right? It doesn't. So let's go back to 60. This is kind of an average. This is actually kind of a below average starting quarterback, but fairly average for if you take starters and backups, like fairly average for quarterbacks in general. 60. If you get below 60, this is a guy you probably shouldn't be. You shouldn't be trotting out at quarterback ever, because now watch how slow a 60 switches his reads. Read. Now he's on 2. And he never got to 3. So That's a huge difference, right? From the 99, it was so fast I couldn't even mouse between them, to this idiot. First read, second read, third read. Like, that's a 60. Now you can kind of see when almost all my videos when I talk about quarterbacks, I talk about um, don't trot out quarterbacks lower than 60. Um, I still have to figure out what to do when in cases where you're not coaching, where you're actually playing the game and you trot out a 40 rated quarterback. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with that yet. But when it comes to AI and it comes to coach mode, don't don't throw out 50 rated quarterbacks. Let's make this guy 50. I can't imagine any team ever throwing a quarterback out there that's below 50. But let's just do it so you can see how bad this is. It's going to be fairly bad. So, first read, second read, and then like he just got to the bailout read. But the other thing you notice too is how often he's reading the receiver. It's not very often. Every time that dot moves, he's making another pass read on that receiver too. So not only is he switching his progressing through receivers very slowly, he's also reading each receiver very slowly. So there are a lot of times, if you, especially with fast receivers, where he'll miss a receiver being open because his reads are so slow. Whereas here's the 99 guy. Watch how fast he's reading each individual receiver as well. So a 99 is never going to miss a receiver that breaks open for like a quarter of a second. He's going to find that guy. The 50 guy, your guy could make a cut and he won't even see it sometimes. So that's that. All right, so that's passing. We're going to keep him at 99 just so he can see everything. He's clearly tearing apart this defense. These receivers are rated 60. These defenders are rated 60. I'm just doing that just so everything's even. But he's tearing apart this zone. Zones are actually pretty easy to beat in this game just because there are so few players on the field. But what happens if we take these linebackers and we throw them in man? So now everybody's covered and I have a deep zone. Right, so everybody's covered. See, he's pocket moving. He's avoiding the rush. Okay. Eventually he's just going to tuck it and run. I think I have a limit as to how far backwards the quarterback can drop, and I think I might have to tighten that up a little bit. Right now it's 10 yards just because 10's an easy number to throw out there, but I feel like 10 yards is too deep. I feel like he got too deep. But all right, so he's kind of shifting. Rush is getting close, and then eventually he finds a receiver that broke open. I did mention man defense last in the defensive AI video about how I need to adjust man defense so that, like, when this guy make this cut, this defender isn't like auto cutting with him. Like his intelligence somehow matters. I have adjusted that, and what you'll see, this isn't a defensive video, but what you will see is the guy will make a cut, and because he's only rated 60, he'll be like a half a step slow on that cut, which a lot of times is enough for a receiver to then be open. So if a defender is just, if they have equal speed and the defender maybe just gets himself a little bit out of position, a good quarterback will see that as open and be able to make that throw. So that's kind of cool. I'm actually pretty happy with that. See, he made his cut. He's a little, well, it was actually pretty good there. This guy right here and that guy got just a step on their defender, and this quarterback saw them as open. So I'm actually really happy with that. So he's getting open just because this yep, he got a little step on him. See, he's dragging. He like had a little hesitation there. What's that hesitation for? I wonder what that is. So he's covered. It's probably a pathfinding thing because his his let's do this and just see if it happens again. 11. I think has to do with the fact that he's not that smart and his pathfinding. So let's make him really good at pass defense and let's see what happens. Yeah, see, he has much better coverage. Once he gets into traffic, that's where he gets into trouble. His coverage is good, and he's kind of hesitating because of the traffic there. Yeah, let's double check that anyway. This isn't actually what I wanted to look at, but now I'm curious. All right, so let's reset that. Let's turn the gizmos on. Prepare, and that's what that is right. Yeah, it's a traffic thing. So in traffic, like all kinds of unexpected things will happen. Mostly because that's what happens when players start running in. What they'll do, the AI, and this is for all players, this is offense and defense, and running and blocking and all that stuff. One of the things everybody does is while they're running, they have that little star that you saw is all the positions that player is evaluating. And we're getting into something I didn't intend to, but actually the passing looks pretty dang good. So we're gonna. I noticed the pocket rush thing. We'll check that in a second, but I just want to talk about this in just a little bit. All right. So the star here, what you're seeing here, each endpoint, each line goes from the player to an endpoint, and the endpoint, each of these endpoints is a position that player's AI is evaluating for moving. The middle is denser in points he's evaluating because when you're doing things like blocking and rushing, you need that fine movement, mostly for blocking, but like pass rushing needs it too. And pass man defense kind of needs it too. Running routes, so you need the dense point cloud to be able to figure out if I've gotten exactly to the point or not. But then as it gets wider, you can see the density falls off because if I'm looking at a point 10 yards away, I don't need to be within a foot to run towards that point. I can just run towards it, and then as I get really close, then the high density cloud takes over, and that's how I can get like the best of. I can get fine positioning, but I don't have to sample tons and tons of points. So that's kind of how that my movement system works. I'll just run it again so you can see. And you can see he's eliminating huge sections of points whenever players get close. Just speeds up the calculations. The first pass I do on all those points is I eliminate points that he can't move to anyways. Like why evaluate him if I can't move there? Just for fun, let's do this. Let's put we'll look at pocket awareness right now, and we'll look at the quarterback's point cloud so you can see kind of how that works. There's the quarterbacks, and you can see a whole bunch of these when they turn black, they've gotten a massive penalty. Black means it's a really low score for that point. Bright yellow means it's a very high score, and then there's a gradient in between. But you can see for the quarterback, first he eliminates a bunch of points when players get too close. Then everything turns black because and pocket movement. I can move there legally, so I evaluate it just in case there's nowhere else to move. But it's black because I really don't want to step into the rush. I will if there's a guy behind me that's about to sack me. I will step up because the guy behind me will score even lower. But if I have any other options, I don't want to move into the dark areas on my point cloud. Everything's good, and then so that's how his point cloud works. So let's really stress. All right, passing. I'm actually really happy with passing. I think the top quarterbacks are actually almost so good they're almost perfect. No matter what defense you throw out there, if you're playing a 99 quarterback, you better have 90 plus defenders all across the board or sack that guy because a 99 quarterback will eat up everybody. They're almost too good. All right, so we're just gonna keep using this same play just to keep uh, like an apples to apples comparison. Um, all right, let's add another D lineman. All right, and let's just see. All right, so there's this cloud. You can see he's kind of eliminating all these positions. We'll turn off the gizmos just so it's easier to watch the quarterback's actual movement. So, all right, kind of shifting away from that guy. That's what we want. Yep, drop back a little bit. So you can see he's the AI. What it's doing is there's three, well, other than eliminating positions and other than penalizing places I don't want to go. When it starts getting to the interest section of my AI, and my AI is broken down into three sections, right? It's eliminate positions I cannot move to. Don't even evaluate those. Penalize positions I don't like, but I would move there if there was no other options. So those are the black lines. Then there's the interest section. And what I do is I said I gain interest in all these positions that have, and then I go through like the modular AI sections system. So like one of them is stay behind my blockers. So if there's a rusher here and there's a blocker here, there's a line that extends from the rusher through the blocker behind the blocker. That line is full of very safe positions to move to because my blocker is directly between me and the rusher. So I gain interest on all those positions or any position very close to those. Let's run it and I'll pause it. All right, boom. So another way I do it is, so see, this rusher here is starting to gain some leverage, position leverage on this lineman. So what I also do is I figure out, all right, I call them free runners, right? If there's a path from a defender to the guy with the ball where there's no blocker in between, all the positions on that line are like lose interest type positions. I don't really want to step up if this guy has a path to me, right? So that's interesting. If you take a look right now too, this whole side of the field is open. I call that find open field. Runners use this too, but I use it now for my pocket awareness, where if there's an open spot where there's no danger, that's a place that I'm interested in. So this quarterback is gaining interest on open field spots. He's also gaining interest. So it's stay behind your blockers, don't allow free runners, look for open field, and then the last one the quarterback is just avoid defenders. It's not quite the same as free runners because if there are blockers all over, I want my quarterback to kind of still, even though I'm kind of safe because I have blockers, I still want to kind of go away from all these defenders. I don't want to be right next to a defender even if there's a blocker. So that's where you get that subtle shading, is because you'll see, all right, well, the pocket's kind of collapsing over here. I'm still safe, but because it's moving in towards me, I'm going to move away from that. So that's another way that these quarterbacks are gaining interest on positions. And that's basically the whole pocket movement AI. So you can see the pocket's collapsing a little bit, and he's kind of shading, right? He's not breaking the pocket and running, but he's like, okay, it's getting close. I don't really like it. And then you can see when a defender gets position leverage, he kind of even more so runs away from that defender. And that's the free runner thing. All right, well, that's good. So my quarterback now is smart enough to avoid a 3-man rush. So you know what's coming next. What about a 4-man rush? Here we go. It's going to be a jailbreak. One of these guys is coming free. Boom, that guy's coming free. He kind of does his best to stay in the pocket. Let's do this. Let's give my quarterback some more speed. Right now he's at 60, but let's give him just slightly more than the defender. There we go. So now he was fast enough to actually make a couple of decisions and then get away from the defender. Whereas when he had 40 speed, by the time he made his decision, the defender caught him because the difference, a 20 speed difference, is actually a pretty big difference. That's noticeable on the field. 10 speed, it's noticeable because you saw me gain distance, but 20 is actually really noticeable. So, yep, get away, get away, get away, get away. Look downfield and then hit him on the run. Now, one thing, as I'm brainstorming and I'm watching this, and we're getting close to the end of this video, and I think I got enough on tape, but one thing I'm thinking is that in a situation like this, he breaks the pocket, he's outside. I'm kind of wondering if I should have um so what I'm thinking, oh, this play's broken too. I gotta get the play back. I must have clicked something or done something. That play got broken. All right, but anyway, let's make this guy a dummy, and let's make. All right, so we got a dummy. We got to make two guys dummies. Let's also make this guy a dummy. And the reason I'm doing this is because I want to highlight my break the pocket and run AI. I have that in there. It's based on the number of reads that the quarterback has. So when the quarterback has 4 reads, he'll stay in the pocket or behind the line of scrimmage longer than if there are 2 reads. And the reason is because average quarterbacks need to have time to read their receivers. If you're running a pattern with 4 active receivers, I don't want quarterbacks breaking the pocket after only 1 read. If that's the case, if you want your quarterback to do that, just have 1 active receiver. So that's why that AI works. But what I'm thinking is in a situation like this, where I'm outside the pocket now, see, and now he's going to run because I only had 2 active receivers, so the break the pocket AI and run with the ball is it kicks in faster. But in the situation where I have 4 active receivers, I'm almost wondering if I should think about breaking the pocket fast, like when I roll way out like this. I'm almost thinking like at some point should I just say, you know what, run it, just run the ball. I'm so far out of the pocket, I should just run. I'm kind of wondering if that makes sense. I'm gonna watch some of this tape and I might play with it more. But I think in emergency situations like that, I should start running almost immediately. Like there needs to be a bail. Yeah, this quarterback just dominated on that one. That's pretty sweet. And the reason I don't do it immediately is because you can design rollouts and things. So like I want to roll out now and I don't want my quarterback to run right away. Like I can control how fast he runs by putting fewer players in the pass pattern and rolling my quarterback out. Like I can do that. So do I need the AI to make the decision for me? Oof, that's bad. Oh, what's happening there is something. All right, so this is something I struggle with all the time. This when he throws the ball, he's so far away from this receiver. He's throwing the ball when the receiver's somewhere around here. What he's doing is saying, all right, well, this receiver's running this way, so I'm going to lead him this way. But he's so far away from the receiver that that lead is probably like 10 yards, 10, 11 yards. So this receiver is running this way, the quarterback's leading him, but the throw is so far that he's leading him way up here, and this receiver is never going to get there. I think because I actually don't let receivers run out of bounds, and I think this is so close to out of bounds that I might not even be letting receivers run on the hashes. So I did, if you looked at previous videos, I did implement a system where if the receiver is about to make a cut, you lead the receiver on the cut. That was a disaster. I mean, it sounds great. It was a complete disaster because what would happen is I would throw the ball here, but I would lead it up here. Well, defenders are waiting there almost all the time. And it was just interception after interception after interception. It was such a disaster. Or if this guy's right here, it's a long throw and I lead him here. Well, this receiver is being covered by somebody who's probably right here. So that defender just jumps up there and grabs the ball. Like, it was a pure disaster. And then the other thing I did is I just stopped the quarterback from throwing these balls. That seems like another good idea. But then the passing game became a system of just waiting. It became the whole passing game became a game of trying to manage where those corners were when the quarterback would read. I was like, that's not football. Like, the football is, if the guy looks open, throw the damn ball. So I still have this system because it is the best. It works the best. There are points, there are places where it doesn't work that well, and this is a perfect example of where it doesn't work that well. But you gotta, I think the balance is you have to just take that into consideration with your play design AI. If I'm rolling this way, don't have an early read running away from where you're rolling. It just doesn't make sense, right? Play design wise, this is going to cause problems. Now, if I made him like the fourth receiver, maybe that would work differently. By the time I got to him, he might already be running this way. So that's a play design issue. So if I roll out this way, it's not as big an issue because the receiver's closer to me. Of course, the receiver has 60 AI, so I don't know where he's trying to make the cut before he realizes the ball is thrown. That's because he's got 60 receiving AI. Yep. Oh, I had to make my cut. Oh crap, it's thrown, right? Whereas if I do this, let's make him. You can see kind of the impact of AI, and why decision making is kind of what this whole speed and decision making is kind of what this game is about. Now watch this. Now I throw it. He goes right to the ball because he recognizes immediately that it's in the air. So that's, again, the impact of AI, or AI speed, right? Decision making speed. So that's a big deal. When you're building a roster in this game, you have to pay attention to the skills of your players, not just speed and strength. All right, so anyway, all that to be said, we got into a lot of things I didn't intend on getting into, but that's okay. The passing looks, frankly, I think the passing looks great. I'm very, very happy with how my quarterbacks pass the ball and how they read receivers. I'm incredibly happy about that. I'm really happy about coverage. Pocket movement AI, I think there are some things I can work on. I'm going to watch the video back and just take some notes and just be sure I want to adjust these things before I really make a bunch of huge changes. There are some things I did see that I know I do want to adjust. So we may look at that again at some point. But I think the concept works right now. So it just needs some refining. So I'll do that. And then next time, probably runners. I mean, now that I'm getting into these high impact AI, I think running AI and open field running AI is probably, other than passing, that's the most important AI in this game, is how do people with the ball run. And that's behind the line, following blocks and looking for holes. But even bigger thing is open field running. Everybody who has the ball past the line of scrimmage is using open field running AI. So that's going to be, I think that'll be the next one because that's like the next highest impact thing. So till then, see ya.